Well, hello everyone. My name is Pastor Will Cole, pastor at St. Matthew Lutheran in Millerstown, Pennsylvania, a congregation affiliated with the Association of Free Lutheran Congregations. And welcome to our first edition of Answers with Pastor Will. So basically, with each one of these videos, I want to take a commonly asked question and answer it. So for today's question, we're going to talk about where did Cain get his wife? This is definitely one of the most common questions that many people have. And a lot of folks doubt the Bible because they don't know the answer to this question. So basically, if we go back to Genesis chapter 4, right? And it talks about how Adam and Eve had two sons, Cain and Abel. All right, and of course we know that Cain murdered his brother Abel because he was jealous. It says that Abel had God's favor. All right, and so then we get to Genesis 4, verse 25, right? And it says, "And Adam knew his wife again, and she bore a son and called his name Seth. For she said, God has appointed for me another offspring instead of Abel, for Cain killed him. To Seth also a son was born, and he called his name Enosh. At that time, people began to call upon the name of the Lord." So we had Cain and Abel, and then Seth, and then it says to Seth was also born a son. So where did Cain get his wife? All right, now for this answer, we got to go into the next chapter, right? Genesis chapter 5. All right, and let's start with verse 3. And we'll go until verse 4. So verses 3 and 4. Here we go. "When Adam had lived 130 years, he fathered a son in his likeness, after his image, and named him Seth. The days of Adam after he fathered Seth were 800 years, and he had other sons and daughters." So, where did Cain get his wife? He married his sister. And if you think about it, who else was he going to marry? Now, back then, there wasn't a problem with it, and I can explain why. See, incest wasn't really a thing back then. Adam and Eve were created perfect before the fall, right? And then when they rebelled against God, in the Garden of Eden by eating the forbidden fruit, it really messed everything up. Sin, death, pain, and suffering came rushing into the world. Now things die. Now there's pain. So where Adam and Eve pretty much had perfect DNA, it wouldn't have been a problem, for brothers and sisters to have kids. You weren't going to get a kid with, say, like 6 toes, 7 on one foot and 5 on the other. That wasn't going to happen. And in fact, you don't see God outlawing, marrying a close relation until Leviticus chapter 18. Now, this was during the time of the Exodus, and we can start with verse 6. "None of you shall approach any one of his close relatives to uncover nakedness. I am the Lord. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father, which is the nakedness of your mother. She is your mother. You shall not uncover her nakedness. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father's wife. It is your father's nakedness. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your sister, your father's daughter, or your mother's daughter, whether brought up in the family or in another home. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your son's daughter or of your daughter's daughter, for their nakedness is your own nakedness. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father's wife's daughter, brought up in your father's family, since she is your sister. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father's sister. She is your father's relative. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your mother's sister, for she is your mother's relative. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father's brother. That is, you shall not approach his wife. She is your aunt. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your daughter-in-law. She is your son's wife. You shall not uncover her nakedness. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your brother's wife. It is your brother's nakedness. You shall not uncover the nakedness of a woman and of her daughter. And you shall not take her son's daughter or her daughter's daughter to uncover her nakedness. They are relatives. It is depravity. And you shall not take a woman as a rival wife to her sister, uncovering her nakedness while her sister is still alive. And it goes on from there. Needless to say, God wanted to make sure that all the bases were covered. But if you go before this in the book of Genesis, most of the folks married a close relation. Abraham did, Isaac did, Jacob did. Even before that, where you talk about after the Tower of Babel. And, even between the flood and the Tower of Babel, you do see, marriages of close relations. But back then, it was all right because the DNA was not corrupted enough to make a difference until the time of the Exodus. Then it was a big old problem. And that's why God put these laws in place. So incest wasn't really a thing before this point. There was nothing wrong with it. But after Exodus, you could no longer marry a close relation. So how can we make more sense of this? All human beings go back to Adam, right? And so we all marry our relations. We'd have to in order to marry another human. But there's a difference between marrying an extremely distant cousin, which we would all be, versus a close family member. All right, so to answer the question, where did Cain get his wife? He married his sister. All right, well, that is all for today. If you're in the area, and I hope this reaches out into, Perry County, you are more than welcome to join us for worship. Every Sunday morning, we have adult Bible class and Sunday school at 9 a.m. We have worship at 10. All right, 600 Centerville Road, Millerstown, Pennsylvania. And I'd love to see you all there. And you can also catch this video on our website, stmatthewpa.org. All right, and so God's blessings to everyone. I'll see you at the next video. All right.